Bingo Blitz rules.
If your bingo has ads in it,
That's not a bingo.
if it doesn't have the coolest tournaments, mini games, and the most breathtaking design,
Nope, not a bingo.
if your bingo moment makes you feel so excited that you just want to burst in joy and scream out loud, bingo! Sorry, so you're playing...
Bingo Blitz? Now that's a bingo. Go for a world of excitement with Bingo Blitz, the #1 free bingo game. Download Bingo Blitz and play for free.
Now that's a bingo.
Want to shop Walmart Black Friday deals first? Walmart Plus members get early access to our hottest deals. Join now and get 50% off a 1-year annual membership. Shop Black Friday deals first with Walmart Plus. See terms at walmartplus.com.
Let's hang out. Let's hang out. And let's talk about what Leslie's about. Let's hang out. And let's listen to two lesbians shout. Let's hang out. Let's hang out.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Lez Hang Out, the podcast where yo ho homos, the pirates all were queer.
Ain't that the truth?
You had to know.
When you started to say ho, I was like, you're getting the words wrongly, but I should have known you were going to do that.
You should have known. You should have
should have
trusted
known.
me. Have some faith, Ellie. From the West Coast, I'm Leigh Holmes Foster.
From the East Coast, I'm Ellie Brigida. To those of you who've been with us through this whole journey, thank you as always for listening. If you're a new listener, welcome. We're excited to have you here. Here's what's happening this week.
This week in the Lesdom.
This week in the Lesdom is a place for us to touch base about things going on with the podcast or otherwise. Starting with, we want to remind you that we are releasing bonus Patreon episodes every month for our Patreon supporters. We also want to remind you that Journey to the Heart, our brand new interactive podcast musical, is available now everywhere you listen to podcasts. In the greater Les universe, you know this one is near and dear to my heart. We had a pretty exciting week for Erpers, who had revealed to us that there's going to be a new scripted, written by Emily Andress, 90-minute special on Tubi. Winona Earp coming back. So I don't know a lot about what's supposed to be happening. I hear there's going to be a hot female villain, which we're always here for. But if you are excited, Erpers, get ready. Buckle up, dipshits. We're coming back. In sadder news, though, Boy Genius has announced they are going on an indefinite hiatus. Nothing like a lesbian breakup to really dim the spirits. Luckily, all three of them are going to be continuing their solo careers, obviously, but it sounds like the group collective effort will possibly be on pause for who knows how long. In global news that I thought was very funny, Duolingo is actually the subject of a new Russian investigation for, quote, distribution of information that promotes LGBT. So listen, if you are like me, my wife does her Duolingo every single night. And sometimes, you just see things pop up where you're like, hey, kind of gay Duolingo, which to us, we're like, great, A+ work. Apparently Russia, less so. so they are now under investigation. Duolingo, however, I think has really great statements to say on this because they have a couple things that they've said from the beginning. First of all, they do have specific characters, like the little characters that pop up in your Duolingo lessons. I think there's at least 3 of them that are specifically LGBTQ plus characters. And Duolingo has come out with quotes in the past where they've said, they want to, quote, show queer people living their lives in an unsensationalized and normal way. So good for you, Duolingo. Boo on you, a Russia investigation. That's what's happening this week. Back to you, Ellie and Leigh. Thanks, Ellie and Leigh. And we are so excited to bring you episode 13 of season 7, Hot Pirate Booty. And we are joined by 4 very special guests today, all the creative team behind Great Age of Sail. So we are excited to be joined by Adam Korenman, who is the writer and director.
Hi, it's so great to be here.
And Seth Bowser, who is the composer.
Hi, thanks for having us, Ellie and Leigh.
We have Nat Leykam, who is the producer and story developer.
Thank you. So excited to be here.
And we have Jaime Rockafellow, who is the associate producer. Hey, Jaime.
Hi, I'm just glad to be here.
They really understood the assignment. Before we logged on, we were like, just make sure you say how happy you are to be here. So we made them say that, and they did it so well.
Wow, no one used the word honored or like, you know,
and it was a lot of
verklempt.
good synonyms. Like we kept it all fresh. You know, I was very impressed with that. All right. Well, thank you so much for hanging out with us today. We were saying before, this is the first time we've ever had 4 guests simultaneously on the podcast. So this is like an absolute pirate party over here.
It really feels like a party. Is that just me?
Really
I feel like this is so hopping.
I feel like we should be playing board games. Like I want to play Catan or something.
I have some.
That's what I
definitely
feel.
down for board games.
Yeah, and I've got some pirate ones, so this could happen.
Yes,
That's what
let's
I
do
figured.
it.
You know, I could sense it. Could sense a kindred spirit. But let's chat a little bit about Great Age of Sail. Why don't you just tell us, maybe start from the beginning. How'd you come up with the concept? Like how did the idea form?
All right, I guess I'll take this one. So it's 2020, setting the stage for all of your listeners. 2020, and Nat and I had just come off this really fun musical, and so we were thinking, okay, what's the next thing? And I'm working on my project when the world shuts down. And all of my creative energy went with it. I basically lost the ability to write, to tell a story. It was terrible. And in the middle of all of that, you probably remember this man from New Zealand, a man from Scotland took a New Zealand whaling song and it went viral, The Wellerman. And so I got sea shanty fever and I started listening to sea shanties and playing Assassin's Creed Black Flag. And I realized I wanted to try something in that universe. It's singer-songwriters who really spoke to me from a musical standpoint, and I wrote a sea shanty, but it didn't scratch the itch. So I wrote another one, but that didn't scratch the itch. And after I started putting more and more work into this, I realized there's a show here. There's a story. So I sent it to Nat. Nat read through it and said, what if we introduce you to somebody who's an actual composer and music director and see what we can do with this? And that brought in Seth, who listened to my rambling sea shanties and said, ooh, but let me try this, and actually compose some beautiful, incredible music. And then as we were getting ready to put on an attempted staged reading, we met Jaime, who came in with actual theater experience and was able to give us, basically let us know what we weren't prepared to hear, and was very honest and eventually became a creative force in their own right that just shaped everything. So we started with a sea shanty and now we're here with a show.
I love that.
Love it. We know the sea shanty craze very, very well. Valerie, who's working with us on our new musical, was in Great Age of Sail and still is, I believe, right?
Yes.
And we very similarly were like, sea shanties, pirates, gay pirates, like this feels right.
It's a natural progression.
It is.
Right?
It is. It just makes sense. Just makes sense. I'm curious, Nat. You said you're in story development. So what was the process like when Adam brought you the idea? Like, how did you develop the story?
Okay, so no, I was very honored. I had worked with Adam as a performer previously. The musical we worked on together previous to that, we've also done some film things together, but the musical we had worked on previously was a parody that mashed up Hamilton and King Kong. But so at this time when he reached out and he was like, I've got this idea, I've got this script, can you take a look at it? And I was like, oh, cool. Kind of different working relationship, so I was very excited and I kind of delved into it. As I began reading through it, I just started having ideas, starting visualizing the story and the characters and everything else. And I found my original email not too long ago where I was like, I don't know if this is what you're looking for, but I have notes. And
to be clear, he did not ask you for notes, right?
He did not ask me for notes.
Them. Okay.
I was asking, hey, Nat, can you pat me on the back and say this is good, please? Thank you.
Which I did. I said it was
and
a really
they were
cool
like,
idea.
well.
I said, you're doing amazing, but
it could be better.
Yeah, it could be better.
The important but, yes.
Yes. So I was like very tentative and apologetic. I was like, just ignore it completely if this is not what you're looking for, but I have some ideas. And that's, like Adam said, that's become my catchphrase with all the actors. And everyone is that I have notes. So that's apparently my biggest contribution is my notes. But after finishing reading it, let's just be direct. It was a very straight show. Just, boy meets girl, they fall in love, they, sail off into the sunset. So when I sent it
Sounds
back,
awful.
right?
Yeah.
That's
Just terrible.
I know. So sorry.
What are we
so
doing?
sorry.
Yes. Right? I was like, this has been done. It's a new character's new take, sure, but what if it's gay? And so I sent it
We're
back.
always about that question. So
Yeah.
you caught us there.
Exactly. Your other show, yeah. So I sent it back with multiple. That was only part of it, but one of it was, what if we make the character that has a crush on Viola, the main heroine, female? Because it was two males. It was her love interest and her best friend. And I was like, make that one female, make them fall in love, make the guy lose, out and whatever. So this whole thing. And then throughout the process, Adam's been amazing. We've rewritten the script 10 times or more now. And I always seem to find notes in a good way, but always am excited with everything I read. And he's been amazing working with my ideas. So.
Maybe this is a good opportunity to also say, for any of our listeners who aren't familiar with the show, what was the quick elevator pitch synopsis of Great Age of Sail?
The original synopsis was, it's a pirate show with songs. But as we started going through it, and especially with...
It's a pirate musical that's not Penzance,
What's that with that again? But it basically became, when her brother is lost at sea, a lord's daughter rallies a crew, braves the sea, and faces off against the dread pirate Blackbeard on a journey of vengeance and self-discovery.
Nice.
I pitched
Great
an elevator.
I was going to say, that was the script.
Concise. Got me in. Okay, so that's your elevator pitch, right? You started building the story. I mean, we know this is the second musical that we're working on right now. We wrote another one a while ago, did a stage reading, all that stuff. We know how difficult all of those steps can be. So how has the production been, the producing side of it?
Producing side, it's been a pleasure. It's not been easy. It's not been simple, but with these folks, it's been a pleasure. And I think that's really the key component that is with any creative team or any creative project is the people that you're doing it with. Because if it's a chore to slog through all the changes and all the tweaks and all the hard conversations where I have to look at Adam and be like, we cannot have a ship on the stage at this stage of development.
Yet
like
is the
that.
operative
And,
word.
Yeah.
right? We can't do that right now. But,
You can have a piece of cardboard and one oar and start there,
Exactly.
Cardboard is very deadly on stage. Can I tell a quick theater story? Because the cardboard really just piqued me. So I was in a high school production of Les Mis, and we also, did not have a budget. So for the barricade, they built it with a few wooden boxes and then a bunch of cardboard boxes. And I was playing Eponine. I climbed over the barricade, stepped onto a cardboard box, and fell inside of the cardboard box on stage. So be careful with your cardboard pirate ship. That's all I'm saying.
Low budget
We've
barricades.
got good experience with cardboard. When we did Hamilcong, both the Empire State Building and the ship, the Venture, were made out of cardboard and were attached to a picnic table.
Nice. Gotta get clever.
I'm just now picturing
I wish that the barricade was a picnic table.
on my own, slowly coming out of a cardboard box.
Yeah, it was right before
Literally.
Little Fall of Rain. It was my dad's
Yeah.
song. So that was quite fun. Yeah, never forget. But yeah, sorry. Difficult conversations, you were saying.
Oh, yes, because part of this, at least on the creative production side, is being open and honest and communicative and saying, love your idea, but I don't, or, let's talk, and not that it's all that, it's just that that's some of the more difficult aspect of coming and collaboratively coming up with something. But on the logistical side, that's a whole, we could do a whole nother podcast on logistics, but yeah, Jamie.
From my perspective, I came in a little bit later in the process. I used to produce theater in college, and what I feel about that and about this is that producing theater is a stress, but a stress that you like. There's stress of tests that's not fun, and this is stressful, but it's enjoyable stress. And I think I've found that not just with this group, but in learning about theater in LA and theater production and development in general, it's very much a learn as you go type thing, and just, see what works and continue with that, and, take advice from anybody you can. And yeah.
Well be open to the team. You gotta it's a team effort, right?
Yeah, I also feel like all theater is good stress in a way, right? It's theater is the most, think about Hell Week. You're oh, I'm so stressed out, but you wouldn't want to not do it.
Yeah.
Right. So I understand. I understand that component of it. And yeah, so what have you done in the production process so far? Where are you in the process? Do you know what I mean?
So right now, we have gone through a staged reading that we did in July of last year. We put together a cast of 9 people to fill out 22 roles, and we did a performance in front of about 65 guests, both friends, family, and industry professionals, who gave us some very, very good feedback. And from there, we went back in, reiterated, rewrote, and redesigned how we were going to approach the next step of the workshop. So right now, we consider ourselves in an advanced workshop phase of the production. We have talked with dance choreographers and stunt choreographers. We have cast another 12 people for this next iteration, and we are getting ready to put on the next show in the summer. It will probably be just a more advanced version, but still not the full picture. So that means we're still locking down venue, getting our insurance, and getting all those pieces put together, identifying if we're going to hire a band or just do it on track. And we haven't begun the rehearsal process, but we are starting to build our schedule. So there's still many, many miles to go before we can say that 2024 is a locked and clear vision. But fortunately, we've, in the interim, raised $25,000 through crowdfunding and gathered a larger audience than we had before for what's coming next.
That's awesome.
Yeah, congratulations on that, because that's all those steps are big.
By the time this episode comes out, the most recent version of the script will have been read aloud by a whole group of people. So that's awesome. An exciting step.
Seth, I'd like to kick something over to you as the composer.
By you mean the most talented person we hear on the whole team?
Yes. What's your process like? So when you say composer, you're saying arranger, correct? Orchestrator? Or you also have written the songs?
No, all except for the very opening song, I believe, was original. Well, the whole thing is original music. The very first thing that Adam sent me about 2 or 3 years ago was his sea shanty that has only been tweaked a little bit, maybe some different harmonies here and there. But everything else I wrote and arranged and is in the process of being orchestrated. We're still trying to figure out what instrumentation could look like for us in each step of the process. For our staged reading over the past summer, it was me at the piano, just playing all the songs, having a good time. Yeah, so my process has been, I like to start really simple and just take my cell phone into a nice room with an acoustic piano and just kind of play a little bit. My creative process has evolved a bit over the years to be a little more playful to begin. It's a little more free. So I can just make a lot of mistakes, get a lot of bad ideas out of the way and just record everything and see what kind of sticks around, you know.
Had you written other musicals before this? Is this the first musical you've worked on?
No, this is the first musical.
Very cool.
I've done other things like some trailer music here and there for film and TV and some classical work as well. But no, this is my first experience with a musical. And I'm so happy that this is my first experience because it's been a pleasure to work with all three of these amazing people.
And lesbian pirates. Like, you can't ask for a better intro musical experience, right?
I know. It's been a dream.
Everything's going to be downhill from here, right?
Yeah,
so
this
high
is
now.
the pinnacle.
And
No, I was just going to say maybe my first and my last. We'll just let's come down a high note.
no,
There's no downhill if you stop at the top, right?
There's no doubt. But I have to piggyback and just extol Seth for a second, how amazing he really is. Because yes, all the music is originally composed predominantly by him. And when we would do meetings with the songs and just the, getting together, here's the music, here's the, how's it sounding, what is it? And he would present the music that he had kind of come up with so far, and we talked about it. And some of us would be like, it's not working. Let's try something else. This man, I would be like, okay, this one is kind of like a drinking song. Give me something that's like Caribbean mixed with heavy on the Spanish influence. And I came up with this weird conglomerate, and he turns around and just starts playing a completely original melody. That's what he means when he goes with my phone to a piano, is he's just able to sit down and play out of his head this beautiful music, and then it just takes the work to put it together, and he's amazing. So that has been really an amazing process for us to be a part of and witness, is that to just kind of be along for the ride of his creative process.
What's the strangest thing you've said that he just understood? For example, I'm like, Leigh,
Ellie's like, I know what it's like working with someone who's insane, and here's what I want to know.
because here's the thing. So here's how Leigh and I work. So Leigh writes the songs and I do all the arranging. So she will bring me a demo and then say I want it to sound and I can't even tell you, what's the strangest thing you've said to me, Leigh?
Oh my God, I've said so many stupid things to you, Ellie. I know it's hard to think of them. The problem is most of the time they're not even concrete things. It's just me making vague sounds in your direction.
Yeah, exactly.
So.
Strange sounds, and I'm like, oh yes, of course.
Yeah, it's a lot of motions.
Yeah, this is what you mean. Just curious if there's any sort of that kind of language going between all of you in the team.
One that kind of comes to mind, I don't know if it's the strangest, but it was probably the fastest turnaround of just showcasing what a couple key changes can do. We have a song at the end of the show that is the big fight song. It's probably one of the most important numbers in the entire piece, so it has to be good. It has to be powerful. And Seth and I went back and forth for months because we both saw this needs to be as close to perfect as we're able to get. So Seth would get a version and he'd be very proud of it. And I'd go, ooh, but I feel like I don't hate that character enough. Make me hate that character more. And I remember after giving the note, I need to hate this character, you came back with the look what you made me do verse. And that was it. It was just this sudden interlude in the middle of the song that just, it clears up any confusion who the villain of the show is.
Yeah, I don't know if we want to give too many spoilers, but the first time I heard that sang, and it was goosebumps because it was so gross. And that's in a good way, in a characterization way.
Yeah, in the way that you wanted it to be.
Yeah.
It comes back to the production process, because when we started this story, I still have the original script that I sent to Nat. A lot of the characters either aren't in it, or our villain is a completely different person. Our hero is on a completely different journey. And as we went through this iterative process, both the story development with Nat, the music development with Seth, additional character motivations that Jaime's brought in since, all of those pieces influenced everything. It was all a great big collaborative effort. So I like to say, yes, I wrote a story, I wrote a song at the beginning of this process, but at this point, it is more true to say this is our show. We've put our blood, sweat, and tears into it, and we can each point to a moment and say, that is solely me. I created that moment. And that's something I'm really proud to have built or to have with this team. And even in our staged reading, we can say the same thing with our cast. There are choices that our cast made that none of us gave any input on that became reality, that became the canon of that moment. And that's, for me at least, that's what I love about live theater, is that every show you see, you're seeing the only version of that will ever be.
Okay, now listen, Adam, because I feel like Ellie asked pretty specifically for like crazy stuff, and that was all very touching. That was like way too sweet of an answer for like me. I'm racking my brain, being like, what insane things have I thrown at Ellie? Because it's like the one that's most prominently coming to mind, just because I know I've done it more than once. For our show, our first musical was like very more like classical musical theater. This one's very like pop style music. And so I know I've asked her more than once where I'm just like, Ellie, do you know what I mean when like, can you make it sound like they're in a box here? Like they're singing in a box. I don't know what that's called, but they're here in a box and it kind of sounds like this, right? Like that. Like that's what we were looking for. But like, sure, you could be like, you could be very sweet and touching instead. That's fine.
You did.
I'm just kidding. Well, I mean, I will say, like, I don't speak the language of music the way that everybody else on the team does. So when I would give Seth notes, I'd be like, I really like this part to be loud, but then not loud, but then like mid-loud. Can you give me mid-loud? And then I want like a little bit of and none of those are words that mean anything, but somehow Seth hears it and goes, I know exactly what you need.
Yes.
Yeah. That's what I keep Ellie around for. Because especially like my big thing. I mean, first of all, I loved listening to your process, Seth, as being like, I sit down at a piano and I just play stuff out. And like Nat, when they were saying how it's just like, oh, you just sit down and music comes out. And I was like, yes, I also play piano for sure. 1000%. That's a thing that I do. But as much as I don't play piano very well, I mostly also don't do drums at all. I have like a very loose drum capability. I'm constantly coming to Ellie and just being like, Ellie, you know, the beat, can we get like a ba da ba ba da ba 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 ga and a ga, do you know what I mean? Ba ba. That's what I give her as in terms of like direction for drum beats.
Yeah, and this is why like Leigh's like, you can never release the voice memos that I sent you.
Never. Not ever. Sometimes she asks
these with anyone.
She always wants to do stuff where she's like, wouldn't it be cool to show the original like version you sent me and then the like first like fully produced demo and you could like transition one into the other? And I'm like, that does not sound cool at all, actually, if you ask me. That's a
Patreon exclusive.
Yeah. Even for the patrons, I don't know, man. That feels like a lot.
I feel like you would be the one that would remember something stupid that we said.
No. Not because of it's just a lot of translation that has come and gone, and now it's just, I don't know, it's the music. It's
out of the brain.
Yeah.
Yeah. I get
sounds helpful to play piano. It sounds nice.
Well, I feel like Leigh also just like records voice memos in the shower and then sends them to me.
Yeah. No, literally you started that sentence. You were like, because you had a pause. There was like a lengthy pause where you were like, I bring my phone into it. And I was like, shower.
When we were first going through the iterative process on all the songs, I don't play piano, I play guitar. So I would send a guitar recording over to Seth, and Seth would say, oh, cool, do you have like sheet music? You only asked me once or twice, and then you quickly learned, I don't know what you're talking about. So I sent him just tabs, basically. And, this is an A, this is an A minor. This one I just kind of made up. I don't even know what this one's called. And you just said, don't worry, I have perfect pitch, and you went for it.
Great. You're like, my fingers looked like this. I'll send you a picture.
We were going through the casting process. And we'd have an actor come in, they would sing a song, and it'd be wonderful. Most of the time, most of the people who came were incredible talents. And then Seth would go, ooh, I want to try something. You've got perfect pitch though, right? And just start playing something. And you could see the actor just have to shamefully say, I don't know how to transpose in my head like you.
Yeah. Be a little bit, like, read the room, Seth. Read the room, you know? You gotta...
Not all perfect.
Okay,
so
you're gonna make me
so
laugh
hard.
or cry or both. This is no, it's been a delight to work with all of our, musicians, I would call them, but because our actors are such like top performers that they're really good at being, thinking on the fly, trying out some new things, and it's been great to kind of stretch myself and them a little bit, musically, and come up with something that's like really powerful, which I think we achieved in the staged reading, and we're looking forward to more of that in the future.
Yeah.
I love that. I'm curious, with the story that you told, Adam, of the whole sort of development of from the like initial pitched story idea to where it is now. I'm curious what your knowledge was of like queer stories in musical theater. Like what was your knowledge going in, and how has this whole process sort of been in terms of like the experience of developing a queer show?
I want to hear this answer.
I feel like I've told this story before. I grew up on musicals. My mother was a musical theater nerd growing up, so we listened to Music Man and Labner and Les Mis and Little Shop and all of the musical, either just the 8 tracks, the cassette recordings. Eventually, we started watching the movies, the filmed adaptations, and so I grew up on musical theater. I'm kind of surprised it took me this long to start writing musicals, because I've been writing films and film scripts and TV scripts and novels and stuff before. But when I started writing The Great Age of Sail, it started basically as an obsession with sea shanties, an obsession with the idea of pirates and how to bring them to life on stage. I really want to build a pirate ship and then have cannons going off. But as I started telling the story, and as Nat came in and said, you need to look at this differently. You need to find out why these characters, why now, why this story. There has to be a reason that people will come to see the show other than pirates cool. And when Nat introduced the idea of like, you need to look at this from a queer perspective. As somebody who's been cishet my whole life, I like to say sexuality and gender is a spectrum. I'm somewhere on that spectrum. I lean one way a little bit more than the other, but I need to be open to seeing the full spectrum of color in front of us. And as we started to explore that, I think everybody was learning about not just these characters, but ourselves. We use this as an exploration of the possibility of what storytelling can cover. And more to the point with getting into queer narrative, I was vaguely on the outskirts of it, having been in musical theater, having a lot of friends in the queer community. But it wasn't until I really steeped myself, surrounded myself, and was vulnerable with myself that I started to see parallels in what we were doing in The Great Age of Sail. Because when you think about piracy, in a general, remove the legality of it, it is a person who is trying to live the life that they know is them, that they know is their truth. And society and their families and everything keep telling them, no, you have to live this way. And so a pirate is willing to fight to live the way that they know is right.
I'm going to say, hold that thought real quick. We're going to hear from some sponsors. I want to come back and dig more into that.
Right now, there are more forcibly displaced people in the world than at any other time in recorded history. Queer and trans refugees are uniquely vulnerable due to state-sponsored homophobia and transphobia. In more than 60 countries around the world, same-sex intimacy is criminalized, and LGBTQI+ people face severe forms of violence and persecution because of who they are or who they love. Rainbow Railroad is a global charitable organization that helps at-risk LGBTQI+ people get to safety. Since its founding in 2006, they've helped more than 13,000 LGBTQI+ individuals find safety through emergency relocation, crisis response, cash assistance, and other forms of support. Rainbow Railroad is the first queer organization to partner with the U.S. government to bring at-risk LGBTQI+ refugees to the U.S. through Welcome Corp. This program allows everyday Americans to privately sponsor refugees from around the world. Volunteers help queer and trans refugees build a new life with dignity by empowering them with critical support and resources. Due to barriers in asylum and traditional resettlement, Rainbow Railroad also advocates for governments around the world to protect the right to seek asylum and create expanded and flexible pathways to safety for at-risk LGBTQI+ individuals. Learn more and support their work at rainbowrailroad.org or emailing community@rainbowrailroad.org.
Lez Hang Out.
This episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. And as we head into Thanksgiving time, I want to start by thanking my wife, Kelsey, who has not only listened to just about every episode of this podcast for 8 seasons now, but who also is the only reason I'm able to make time to record it every week. She takes the kids, gets them dinner, and gets them ready for bed just so that Ellie and I can come on and yell about gay things into each other's faces for an hour. So here's a reminder to send some thanks to the people you're grateful for in your life, including yourself. I've been in therapy for a long time now, and one thing that's so important about therapy is how it teaches you to be more intentional. And being intentional about gratitude and how to show that to the people you appreciate is just one of the many benefits that I've gotten from therapy over the years. If you've been thinking of starting therapy, consider giving BetterHelp a try. I know how hard it can be to find time for regular therapy, and BetterHelp is designed to be flexible and convenient for your schedule. You can fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist, and you can switch therapists at any time for no additional charge. If you want to start being more intentional about gratitude in your life, visit betterhelp.com/Lez Hang Out today to get 10% off your first month. That's betterhelp, HELP.com/Lez Hang Out.
Lez Hang Out.
For many businesses, the holiday season can be both an exciting and stressful time. With so many balls in the air, one thing you definitely want to know you can rely on is how you're selling your products. And with Shopify, you can rest easy knowing it's the home of the #1 checkout on the planet. Nobody does selling better than Shopify. And when it comes to successful brands like Aloe, Allbirds, or Skims, an often overlooked secret is all the things that go on behind the scenes that make selling, and for shoppers, buying, simple. For millions of businesses, if you take a peek behind that curtain, you'll see that Shopify is what makes it all possible. Shop Pay boosts conversions up to 50%, so that's more happy customers and way more sales going. It's true all the time, but especially this time of year, your commerce platform better be ready to sell wherever your customers are scrolling or strolling, on the web, in your store, in their feed, and everywhere in between. Businesses that sell more sell on Shopify. Upgrade your business and get the same checkout we use for Realm merch with Shopify. Sign up for your $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/realm, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/realm to upgrade your selling today. Shopify.com/realm. For many businesses, the holiday season can be both an exciting and stressful time. With so many balls in the air, one thing you definitely want to know you can rely on is how you're selling your products. And with Shopify, you can rest easy knowing it's the home of the #1 checkout on the planet. Nobody does selling better than Shopify. And when it comes to successful brands like Aloe, Allbirds, or Skims, an often overlooked secret is all the things that go on behind the scenes that make selling, and for shoppers, buying, simple. For millions of businesses, if you take a peek behind that curtain, you'll see that Shopify is what makes it all possible. Shop Pay boosts conversions up to 50%, so that's more happy customers and way more sales going. It's true all the time, but especially this time of year, your commerce platform better be ready to sell wherever your customers are scrolling or strolling, on the web, in your store, in their feed, and everywhere in between. Businesses that sell more sell on Shopify. Upgrade your business and get the same checkout we use for Realm merch with Shopify. Sign up for your $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/realm, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/realm to upgrade your selling today. Shopify.com/realm.
Enjoy the world and all its terrors? Interested to learn more about unexplained entities and dark legends from across the globe? Join myself and Dr. Sophie Yang as we share horrors, fears, and taboos from her home in Taiwan and discuss the similarities and differences between what scares souls in the East and West. Learn about what haunts the Taiwanese mountains, what comes for you in death, and much more. Check out That Scares Me Too, available now. That's 2, like boo.
So I want to kick it over to you, Nat, because you looked like you had some things to add in a little bit to that as well. So I want to kick it over to you and hear what hear your side, and then I want to talk a little bit more about it.
I can get a little more personal here. When Adam first sent me this script, I was also living as cishet. And when I was reading the characters and on my own, I'd been writing stories from a queer perspective and that sort of thing that no one had really seen or that I hadn't made, public. But over the course of the next, now 4 years, because it's January. So 4 years ago, when we first started working on this, I saw myself in what he just said, which was the idea of someone living the way they wanted to be, and regardless of what society said and whatever else. And through the course of writing the story and sending it back, like I said, one of my notes was, "I'm queer." No, you should make it queer. And it slowly, as the story developed, so did I, and eventually, now I'm out as a queer trans femme person.
That's awesome. I love that.
This is also just one of the things I love about theater so much in general is like at its purest and its best, it is like discovering humanity, discovering yourself, like at what theater should be to me.
Yeah.
Is this. So that's very beautiful to hear. Thank you for sharing that.
And it's also like we did an episode, maybe last season. It starts to blur together at a certain point. We did an episode with someone who hosts like live play, like sort of tabletop live play podcast shows as well. And it's something that you hear so commonly in the like live play TTRPG space that I think is very common in theater spaces as well, as like all of these environments, these spaces that give us the opportunity to become someone who isn't us, but in a way that gets to be us still, and gives us that freedom, that opportunity to like play with our own perception and idea of ourselves and things like that. I mean, it can be so powerful, so transformative, so important, I think, on a lot of those journeys. So yeah, theater for sure falls in that category as well.
Oh, definitely. And all of us play D&D.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
The friends that I've made, because I play tabletops and I also LARP. So yes, this like role play fantasy world. Oh gosh, the LARP that I go to is probably like a heavy majority queer people, and people who even cisgendered individuals will play opposite gendered characters. Just why not? And it's definitely a place of, it's almost like, there's the joke that Halloween is a great time for people to dress up different than they normally are and get away with it. But when you're in like a fantasy role-playing type space like tabletops or theater or LARP or something like that, you get that more often, where it's kind of like an excuse, but then you also get to be there and be in it, and then you're like,
I learned some things. Yeah, well, it's it's just like it's a safe space for you to do that. Right. And then like, that's what's great about it. And yeah, it could be that somebody is cis and enjoys dressing up as the opposite gender and is like, I'm still cis. Or they do that and they discover something about themselves that's like, and it's just such a, God, I love being queer, everyone. But it is like, we just live in such a more like you were saying earlier, Adam, just like more colors, right? Like we can explore more of ourselves on a different spectrum, and there's more flexibility and just freedom from other people to like give you that opportunity to discover something new about yourself in a safe way. So
I remember
very happy about that.
When I was in college, I took a course on creative writing, because as you do. And my professor was a renowned literature novelist, capital L literature. And in order to get into the class, you had to submit a short story. So I submitted 2 stories. I submitted one that was a sci-fi story I was working on, and then I submitted the other that was a John Grisham novel, minus all of the talent and understanding of the law. And my teacher took me aside after, the first class and said, this sci-fi stuff, this fantasy stuff, like that's not literature. You should be focusing on real people stories, like this boring nonsense that you put together. And I remember feeling so dejected, and I didn't even know if I wanted to write anymore if the only thing that people wanted to read was what's happening outside. We need to have that extra flair, and that's something that musical theater has very rarely missed out on. When you have the concept of a musical being, when you can't say it, you sing it. When you can't sing it, you dance it. Then the mundane just can't exist on the same stage.
Did your literature professor never hear of Tolkien?
Oh, he did not like Tolkien.
Figures.
Oh no. What a hack. What a hack that guy was, huh? I mean, geez.
We went around the room at the beginning of class, and they were like, okay, what is everyone's favorite author? And I think everyone was putting on airs, and they were like, I'm a big fan of Tolstoy. And it's like, it's nothing but Dostoevsky for me.
Kafka. That's
King.
What really...
That was a fun book, weird ending. And everyone just looks at me like I, was running around with a clown mask on.
Wow.
To be fair, I was running around with a clown mask on differently.
Yeah.
Wow.
I love it. But I also, we can get to a whole discussion about sci-fi also, which maybe we should dive in a little bit more. Pirates are real, right?
Yeah.
They're historically accurate.
Both historically and
also,
currently.
Yes. But also there is like some myth to them. Like they're like a mix of a myth and a history, which I feel like makes them so interesting.
Like cowboys.
Yes.
Yeah.
And like cowboys.
Exactly.
One thing we've been aware
They should
of,
be gayer. We agree, yes.
First off, they should be gayer. But it's something that we've always been aware of, in that there is a historical or even a modern context, and to be careful of like the real pirates were not what we're talking about, especially the real pirates in the modern age. And
unless you're pirating from streaming services.
Yeah. Unless you're Robin Hood.
You wouldn't steal a car.
Not to mention, like, this time frame that we're talking about is also imperialist and colonizing and all this sort of stuff. So it's definitely rife with possible issues that we have to navigate and be careful of. And what we want to foster in the show is the mythological aspect. Like, this is not Earth, really. This is this alternate universe where pirates are heroes and just, stand for freedom and freedom of expression and self-determination.
Yeah, I love that too, because I actually worked on another podcast all about the history of gay pirates. So I have a extensive knowledge of gay pirates in history and just pirates in general. But pirates as a concept also are anti-capitalist, anti-imperialist, because they're outside of society's norms, right? Of what Adam was talking about earlier. It's like, if you're like, here's what you're supposed to do, and here's what pirates are going to do, right? And but it is very complex, right? Because obviously they've done, historically, pirates do horrific things, but also it is we as queer people, I think, become so fascinated with them because they feel free.
But at this,
right?
Okay, this is why I will let you finish your thought in 1 second, I promise. But I do think it's why I am 100% on board with Nat's initial response to the script. No offense to you, Adam, but because it's something that we have said like so many times in the 3 years that we've been working on our own pirate musical as well, where we're like, who has time for straight pirates in this day and age, right? Like in the 2020s, who has time for pirates who are like, societal norms, yes, that's what we should abide by? Like, it just doesn't make sense, right?
Well, and if you think about all like the current media landscape of pirates, like Our Flag Means Death, super queer, but it's like, because it also is like, it's like a rewriting of historical pirates, but it's also not that far off from what pirates were doing. Like, pirates were not straight. Like, there's so much evidence that majority of pirates were not straight. Like, they didn't care about heteronormativity because they didn't need to. And like, it was like majority men on the ship and they would just like marry each other and be happy. But yeah, I feel like it's like and even like Pirates of the Caribbean has like, yes, it's straight, but it has such a like queer flair to it.
As so many of the early aughts movies did, right? I mean,
so many do.
I have a thought, and I don't know if we want to ultimately include it or not, but my thought is that, like, yes, like, there's that bad aspect of pirates that they're, like, violent, but that actually does make me think of the queer experience, because I think, in a way, the queer experience has to be violent because society is always pushing back against queer people. And, like, with Stonewall, like, I have a belief that, we want to say that violence isn't the answer, but sometimes it has to be. And so, like, I think one of the reasons why I feel like pirates and queer people are so much the same is because you have to, like, literally physically, like, fight to be who you are. And, like, sometimes that's not as, like, pretty as, like, society wants it to look, but that's just how if you want to be who you are, you have to fight for it.
Yeah, I think the idea that, like, liberation not typically handed to you kindly by society sure resonates with queer people. Absolutely. We won't even make you cut it from the episode, Jaime. You're good.
Well, yes, we're with you. We are with you.
There's literally a song with some of those sentiments.
I just don't want to promote violence.
You're like, I don't want to, but I am wholeheartedly doing that.
Yeah. In one of our songs, one of the characters we have is Anne Bonny, who is famously queer, and she's singing about living as yourself to the main character, and like helping the Viola like come to know herself better through this song. And at one point is it still in there in this version, or is that song out?
No, that song's in.
Okay. No. I was thinking
I'll fight everyone that song's in.
Yeah, no, we should. Yeah, exactly. Anyway, the song I just had like a flash of, oh God. But there's a point where she's making the comparison, or not comparison, but using the word piracy as a stand-in for being queer. So they can have this conversation in the tavern about piracy, but they're really talking about being lesbians. And
hot. I love it.
Yeah. So it's like this tongue-in-cheek idea of we're, secretly talking about it. And near the end of the song, Viola asks Anne Bonny, like, what do you do if they, push back? And Anne's like, you board their ship and fire a broadside and, hold your sword to their throat.
Kill them.
And Viola's like, I think we're losing the metaphor. And Anne Bonny's like, I know. Like, so yes,
I love that so much. I see, but this is what I'm saying is like the idea of using stories like this to kind of come up with your own ridiculous, like I'm picturing like the discussions that would come out of that where you're like, hey, does she, fly a black flag? Like that kind of just, that is exactly, that's right. Like, that's it. That's what we want to see. That's what we need more of. That's what we need more of out there. So yes.
Pirates to lesbian metaphors.
We never really, I would say most of wanting to make this show was about how many nautical puns can we fit in. And I feel like we hit that limit and then went one or two more.
Is there, how many puns? Do you know the number?
I think we're at a puns per page situation right now.
What's your now I have to ask, what's your favorite of the nautical puns in your show?
Well, is that
my favorite is the one that Seth randomly said and we kept.
Is it still in?
It's still, I hope, yeah, I will fight for that one.
I don't remember which one this is.
She said, I'm lost. I don't need platitudes. Honey, you're lost. You need longitude and platitude. Or something like that. And he just like randomly whispers this off to the side of one music meeting we were at. And we're like, just write it down.
It's in.
So that was at early on in the process after we got version 5 of the script, and now the story is pretty much put together. We hired a group of comedians to come in and do a punch-up session so that we could try to make this, more funny and an approachable show. We also at that point brought in 2 queer comedians to make sure that they were gelling with the vibe of the story, that the characterization was pushing, parody without going into stereotype. And during this whole thing, we've got professional comedians sitting at the table, pitching jokes, and Seth's at the keyboard and just laser focus drops the whole thing on us. And we're like, oh my God, put it in.
Yep.
Love it. We are all about puns over here too.
Oh my God, yes. No, because I did the same thing, like writing, especially in a ton of the songs. I was like trying to just work in as many like oceany, nautically, shippy references and stuff like that. And like, yeah, you just, once you get started, like you can't dial it back.
The puns in Cut Loose are hilarious.
There's some in Cut Loose. There's that's I was gonna say, I think that might be my favorite in our show is there's a character who is hosting a party, and it's like very much the vibe is like swingers party, right? Like everybody's here to hook up. And one of the lines in her song is she just mentions how she already sees a couple of compasses pointing to north. And I was like, are we making nautical dick jokes? Yes, we are. Like, why not?
Ships are made with wood.
Yep.
Yes. So amazing.
Yes. You can't stop it once you start. Do you see what I mean? It just, they keep happening.
You can't. Before we head into our Q&A, I have one final question for everyone, which is just like simple. Actually, maybe not so simple, but what's your favorite musical? What was the musical?
Wow, simple, she says.
So simple. What was the musical that you were like, I love musicals?
I can go. I'm ready.
Okay.
And it's horribly ironic, I know. But when I was young, and I've been in musical theater my whole life as well, from high school and college. I performed, musical theater at the university I was at. But when I was a kid, I burned out a double VHS copy of Pirates and Penzance.
Nice.
Like,
Very
I did not
ironic.
know that, I did not know this was going to be my future, but that was the musical that I just devoured, the like Kevin Kline movie version with Linda Ronstadt of Pirates and Penzance. So
nice.
Yeah.
I have a million answers, but like I'll try to parse it down. Every single year, my dad and I watch White Christmas on Christmas, so that holds a special place in my heart. Singing in the Rain is like top tier, but of modern musicals, I think one of the ones that I really, really loved was Be More Chill, and I saw that on Broadway. And just like, it's such a small moment, but this is a spoiler for Be More Chill, if anybody cares. But at the end, when the bully is like, I think I'm bisexual. And I was like, oh, and like also like, he was acting out because he was suppressing his feelings.
Yeah.
And so that's my answers.
Good answer.
I think Les Mis would be one of my starting points. But I also had the opportunity to be the piano player for the last 5 years, and that was a really wholeheartedly compelling drawing in as well. So those two for sure.
I feel like mine's gonna be real weird.
Can't wait.
This is all our shocked face.
I know, right? So I would say my real introduction into musicals and my obsession with musicals kind of started with Fern Gully and All Dogs Go to Heaven. Fern Gully.
Yes,
And,
Fern
Robin
Gully,
Williams'
man.
That rap.
What a bop.
The song when Charlie first gets to heaven and All Dogs Go to Heaven. Spoilers if you haven't seen it. You might have guessed
They
it
go
from
to
the
heaven?
title.
What?
But as my sister and I became obsessed with these songs, and we would sing them outside as we just played in the backyard. We made plans that we were going to put on shows for the neighborhood. That never happened. And then Nightmare Before Christmas comes out, same thing. Oh my God, we'll plan a whole haunted house where we're singing the whole time. So it's all of those things were just the gateway drugs that got me in. And then I think it was Little Shop of the Producers was a 1-2 punch and knocked me out. I'm like, I'm sold. I'm done. This is it.
Wow.
Nice.
That's right.
No one said the same musical. So
I know.
we've
That's
got a lot
crazy.
of diverse taste, right?
I would say also, as weird as it is, Fiddler on the Roof was a big one. Mostly just, as a Jewish person, it's kind of like, I'm not saying it's the first time I ever saw myself on screen, but it was the first time I'm like, oh, I'm hearing Yiddish in a musical. This is great.
Yes.
It was also the
Nice.
first musical I was ever in.
Ooh.
Nice.
Yeah, that's a good question. What was the first musical everybody was in?
Good question. Are you all going to answer?
Because the first musical I was ever in was an original musical written by the little short theater camp that I went to that I think was called Tzedakah or something. It was a Jewish musical.
Oh my God.
And I was I don't know, 8 years old or something. And
That's so cute.
that's all I remember.
That's incredible. So you just asked that question so you could tell that story.
Yeah.
100% what happened.
Jamie was just tossing the ball in the air. Anyone want to hit this? No.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I guess I'll take it.
I was in a church musical thing as a kid. I think I was beside a singing hymn book or something like that. So I think that was the very first thing. It might have been sooner than that.
They brought Fiddler off Broadway version in Texas, and my mom's friend was the choreographer. So they were like, we need children to be running around. And I was 5 at the time. And so, I don't know, 12 pounds soaking wet. So they were like, this kid's great. We can toss him to each other during the wedding scene. And so that was my big stage debut.
Wow.
How do
It's
you
been
follow
up-
that up? I was in HMS Pinafore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There are so many shows I don't know, and as a theater major in college, I feel like I'm betraying my major by not knowing the shows.
There's also just a million shows.
There's
of
so
musicals.
many.
So it's very difficult to know all
Yeah.
of them. It's very difficult. My first musical was Annie.
Mm.
And I played...
Shut up, Ellie. Shut up, Ellie. Me just booting Ellie out of the Zoom oh no.
Yes. I do have some really cute pictures, though, in the little curly wig. Very cute.
I don't even remember what my first musical was. That's how bad this question is.
How do you not remember, Leigh? You can do it.
The first one I remember being in was maybe Music Man. I had to learn to play the saxophone. I didn't do great.
You actually had to play? I feel like whenever...
Oh no, they had us play. You had to learn to play it well enough to play badly, basically, was sort of the goal. They were like, don't really be good at anything.
Just learn enough that you could.
But my
pretend to play
parents
this
they
instrument.
did get me a saxophone, send me home with it, and my parents had to sit there and listen to me at age 10 trying
that
to
sounds
learn
like a nightmare.
how to make sound in a saxophone, which I don't know if anyone's listened to a kid learn
any sort of because that's a woodwind technically.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Any kind of woodwind instrument.
Anything with a reed,
No.
it's ugly. It's an ugly process. So yeah, God bless my parents for living through that.
Rough. All right, we're gonna head into our Q and gay. Are we ready?
Q and gay.
All right, question number 1. Who's your favorite pirate in pop culture? A. Jack Sparrow, B. Captain Hook, C. Dread Pirate Roberts, or D. Blackbeard?
Captain Hook, but specifically from Once Upon a Time.
Fair.
Oh, yes.
Dread Pirate Roberts.
Yeah, Dread Pirate Roberts, hands down.
Can I hear the options again?
Yeah, Jack Sparrow, Captain Hook, Dread Pirate Roberts, or Blackbeard. Fair enough.
Nice.
Okay, question 2. What weird pandemic hobby did you pick up? Out of A, TikTok, B, wood carving, C, brewing beer, or D, sea shanties?
TikTok.
TikTok. I started a D&D TikTok that
Nice.
took off for a month that I was able to do it.
TikTok, and because of it, I got to be on the Kelly Clarkson show.
Oh, nice.
Oh, that's cool. Why were you on the Kelly Clarkson show?
Mostly because I had a friend who worked on the Kelly Clarkson show and needed somebody to say something that was interesting but not too interesting. And I had just gone viral for the dumbest reason.
Nice. Still love it.
Why wasn't like therapy one of you?
Yeah.
That's not a weird hobby.
weird
That's something everyone should do.
I was going to say,
But
if
so
there wasn't
true.
options, I'd be like makeup or something. But
Yeah.
therapy.
We didn't say what weird healthy pandemic decision did you make, okay?
That's fair. Okay.
That's funny though.
Yeah, I guess it's sea shanties.
Good answer.
All right, question number 3. What would be your favorite creative role? A, writing, B, composing, C, producing, or D, acting?
I mean, C, producing. I'm kind of where I want to be, which is cool.
Nice.
Nice.
I would say, writing or acting. Do I have to pick one?
You know what? As the guests, you get a little bit more freedom than the Twitter poll provides.
I would definitely, I think writing in the aspect of what Adam and I are doing in like this story development version. That's been probably one of my favorite things I've ever done.
You know, as the resident theater person in the group, I should say that you're our dramaturg. And
I'll
if you
take
guys
another
know
title.
theater, you'll get what I mean.
Yes.
Yes, we all know what you mean. If you want to explain to the
I'll
audience.
take another.
So a dramaturg is basically like what you're saying is part of what they do is literary development, like helping the writer with editing and with like figuring out where the story should go and like kind of the themes of it. But the other part is like during production part is like making sure everybody's staying on the themes and like kind of a little bit script supervisor like in film, and also like helping keep the show and everything that's going on to the director's vision and to the script.
Do they give
Glad
notes?
you explained that because I was going to be like snuffing out campfires or like putting up lights. Sorry.
Oh yeah, what was the question? I think I would want to be a writer. I think that I can act well enough to not ruin a scene that I'm in, and that's about my level. But I feel very confident in my ability to break story, tell weird tales, and get people engaged by them.
Seth, what would you pick?
Well, it definitely would be a writer, as displayed by that lame attempt at a D&D joke. That kind of felt. How about a composer?
Sounds like such a good fit. For someone with perfect
Great
pitch,
answer.
like what a choice.
Yeah. Or I'd say,
Good choice.
let me. I just want to amend some language. A bad joke. Yeah. Not. There you go.
You made a thaumaturgy joke.
I did, yeah.
Now I get it.
Oh.
Sorry,
Now I get
yeah.
it.
Thaumaturgy just sounded like dramaturgy.
God.
You know, latitude and
now.
longitude. This is how I operate.
Yep, I'm there. D&D spell.
We
The
all
Venn
finally
diagram
got
of
it.
musical theater nerds and D&D nerds has a lot of crossover.
Yeah,
queer.
Yes, so
And
much
it's
crossover.
so much.
It's just a circle.
It's a circle, yeah. It's a circle within a circle.
Okay, question 4. What do you want to see more of as lesbian musicals? Out of A, pirates, B, cowboys, C, medieval knights, or D, film adaptations?
I mean, I'm going to say because I think we're both currently making lesbian queer pirate musicals, so we've kind of got that covered. Let's do medieval knights next.
Hot stuff. Lesbians with swords, yes.
Yes, that's, like I said, come to LARP. You'll get a lot of that. Armor and the
Nice.
whole 9 yards. So yeah, medieval knights would be amazing. I also love the mythology of Westerns. So I think Lesbian Cowboys would be amazing.
Yeah, Lesbian Cowboys. I don't need the competition from a pirate stuff.
Yeah. Exactly. When you say film adaptation, Leigh, you mean like Carol the musical?
Yes, that literally I was about to say Carol the musical. Ellie, we're doing Carol the musical next. It's done.
Oh God. I don't know, but I'm a cheerleader is about to be a musical, isn't it already?
Is it?
I think they did a workshop.
Do they need our Les Central song? It's ready and waiting.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's so funny. I mean, if they're gonna adapt shit, you might as well adapt something gay. All right. Question number 5. Where have you found the space to play with your perception of yourself? A, theater, B, TTRPG, C, Halloween, or D, all the above?
Okay, good.
You were gonna break now.
I was gonna break.
Honestly, I think for me, it's not all of the above. I think it's mostly just D&D. Like I thought that playing D&D was a great place to try out they them pronouns.
Nice.
Before introducing, because also I happened to be playing with strangers on the internet at that time, so it's like I didn't have to tell anybody I knew yet.
Yeah,
and could just like see how it felt.
Love that.
All of the above.
There you go.
And Lark.
Yes.
I would say all of the above, but really leaning more in D&D. D&D has really just been, and tabletop in general, it's a place to risk-free try a different version of yourself. And even if you're not making big changes to who you are, it also gives you a chance to wear someone else's skin and get a different perspective.
I also just want to add, D&D, like currently I'm playing a cleric character, and it's like she's like this good pacifist, and it kind of makes me see like, okay, I have this like innate goodness in me that I want to do. So just like not only like discovering something new, but discovering something, a part of yourself that was like always there.
Yeah, we did just hear you advocate for a lot of violence, though. So I mean,
she's trying to walk it back.
for the good of humanity.
Yeah, it's violence for the good of humanity.
It's a war player.
Love it. Remember, listeners, you can give us your own answers to the episode's Q&A questions on our Twitter at Lez Hang Out Pod. Thank you all so much for spending time with us and talking about all things gay, musical, pirates. What a delight.
It was amazing.
Yeah, this was amazing. Thank you so much.
let all of our listeners know where can they, if you want to share where they can follow you individually, please do that. But especially let them know where they can follow along with Great Age of Sail and everything that you have coming up.
So they're thegreatageofsail.com is the website, but we also are on Instagram and Twitter and Facebook. It's all just The Great Age of Sail.
And that's sail like a sailing ship, not sail like buying something.
Yes.
Makes sense.
That
Makes
is
sense.
a different
Yeah.
musical. Now
That's when we set up our Etsy shop.
Oh,
Yes.
Yeah, no, that's
actually
100%
brilliant.
what Shop's called.
when our merch goes up, it's the, okay, never mind.
Trademark it quick.
Puns.
We are on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and a website that is, it'll probably be up by the time this episode's out.
Yeah, and it'll be constantly evolving.
Yeah.
Yeah, do you all want to share your personal? You don't have to, but if you want to.
Sure. On Instagram, I'm at Warrior Cat Princess. Yeah, because I read Warrior Cats as a kid.
I don't really active on too many things, but I am or Nat Leykam on TikTok and Discord if that ever comes up.
You could find me on Twitter and TikTok at Officer Mancorn. That's Officer Man and then Korn. You can also hear me on the Mortal Versus podcast, Arrow and Canary as the Green Arrow.
Nice.
Pardon me, I'm just looking up what
So is it Seppi Poo?
I don't know. I'm really bad at having an online presence.
You can reach him at P.O. Box.
Yeah. My personal addresses. Yeah.
I think I'm.
You like the beacons.
Seppi Poo 88 on Instagram and Seth Bowser 0 on TikTok.
And it sounds like you're on both of those a lot. So definitely follow Seth on all of those places.
We probably should all raise our individual social media presences.
It's so exhausting.
It's so much work.
It's so tiring. We don't need to do this. But thank you all so much for spending time with us. This was a delight.
Thank you. For us as well. Thank you.
Yes.
Let me hear you say hip, 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 well, yeah.
We love hearing from all of you. We love continuing to build this community. So we just want to shout out some of our favorite things every episode. And right now, we specifically wanted to shout out all the people who have reached out, both on our social media and just in our lives about Journey to the Heart, about the musical, how much they're enjoying it. It is so exciting to have it out there. We love hearing from all of you. And we specifically wanted to shout out, I think username Glitch Demon, who leaves us a reply on all of our Spotify episodes with just, excitement, thoughts, everything. It's so good to hear. And we love reading them. We're glad people are enjoying the show. As always, we want to thank our Lesbian Jesus patrons, Mark Foster, Lizette Stye, Adi Benitez, Sophia Phillips, and Armani Gucci, and our King Princess patrons, Amy and Ellen, and Andrea Doucette. We could not keep doing this podcast without all of your support and all of our patrons.
Remember, you can also find us on all the social medias, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and TikTok at Lez Hang Out Pod.
You can email us at lezhangoutpod@gmail.com.
Or you can check out our website at lezhangoutpod.com.
Whatever app you use for podcasts, make sure that you subscribe. That way you'll get new episodes as soon as they go up every week.
We're also posting videos on our YouTube channel, so make sure you subscribe at youtube.com/lezhangoutpod to catch them.
Lez Hang Out is an independently produced show. It's hosted by us. Our audio production is done by Ellie. Our production assistant is Krista Murison, and various other social media and production shenanigans are done by me.
If you want to support the podcast, the easiest way is to rate and review us on iTunes or wherever you listen to your podcast. It helps new people find the show and lets them know, yes, you should listen to this.
If you want to join our Patreon, you get access to ad-free episodes, our Discord chat, all sorts of other fun stuff like watch parties with us for Les Essentials. You can find that at bit.ly/LesPatreon.
If you want to get some Lez Hang Out merch, you can do that at bit.ly/LesShop. We have all kinds of things like tees, tanks, and totes. The 3 T's, our favorite.
And remember, we have a queer production company making queer podcast musicals with guaranteed happy endings that you can find everywhere at $beanprod.
Or at our website, dollarbeanproductions.com.
You can listen to all the episodes of our first show, The Flame, on any podcasting app, and our second show, Journey to the Heart, is coming out now. Our second episode just dropped today.
And if you want to help supporting us and making more musicals, you can join our Patreon at bit.ly/dollarbeanpatreon.
If you want to follow us individually, you can find me on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok at LSH Foster.
And you can find me on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok at Ellie Brigida. With that, I'm Ellie.
And I'm Leigh. And let's hang out again soon.
Let's hang out.
If I play you something, will you promise not to tell anyone about it?
What is it?
There's a thing in the sky. You've got to get someone down here quick. It's fucked. It's moving. It's buzzing. It's getting closer, I think.
I need to talk to someone senior.
Putting you through now.
Don't put me. It's getting louder. I can feel it. I can feel it inside my head.
Listen to Hovering, the latest fiction horror show on Realm's premier horror channel, Undertow. Hovering is available now wherever you get your podcasts.